Welcome back, everyone. Welcome to the Kumite Lifestyle Podcast. Today is a huge day for this platform because I'm sitting down with my first ever Olympian, Sakura Kokumai. We're talking about what it really takes to chase a dream at the highest level, the Olympic journey, the pressure of team trials, the grind behind the scenes, the discipline, the losses, the mindset, and what it means to represent your country on the biggest stage in the world. But this isn't just about medals. It's about resilience. It's about staying humble when you win and staying hungry when you lose. It's about being authentic in a world that constantly tests you every single day. If you're an athlete, a martial artist, or someone chasing something bigger than yourself, this episode is for you. Let's get into it with Sakura Kokumai. What's up, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Kumite Lifestyle. And today I'm joined by Sakura Kokumai, and I'm excited to have her on because not only is she another podcast guest, but this is my first Olympian to have on this platform, if you will. So how's it going today?
Pretty good. Just came back from training, rushed to get something in my stomach, but overall, it's starting to be a good productive day. So.
Absolutely. And I really appreciate you taking your time, to hop onto the podcast because the time's the one thing that we can't get back. So I'm glad that you're choosing it to spend it here. You could be doing a million things right now. And I know you're a very busy individual. So let's start off with that. So you mentioned training. Is there anything special or particular that you're training for right now?
Well, I'm actually leaving this weekend. We have team trials coming up in Colorado. So it's an annual thing and it happens every year. The top, I would say, 6 or 8 athletes, I forget, get selected at nationals, USA Nationals in July. And from there, we basically do a competition again, beginning of the year to choose a national team that carries out through the entire year. So training for that, just making sure I'm, sharp and ready to go. So that's the most recent one that's coming up.
No, that's so awesome. So when you say the team trials every year, so no matter what you placed like in the last calendar year, so say you make the team and then you win like the next couple big events, international, what have you, do you still have to qualify for the next year? So there is no automatic berth into the, team selection?
I wish there was at this point, but no. We have to compete every year, and we have to win the top 2 positions to represent the country. Now, a lot of things has changed. So once you become the national team, you get to compete at Pan American Championships. Everything outside of that, even World Championships now, it goes by ranking. So, that's up to an individual to go out and compete. But, there's something special about being on the team and going to team trials. So, I just make sure that I go out there and do my thing and make sure I earn that spot.
Absolutely, yeah. And I'm glad you were able to kind of clarify that because it's like no matter how great you are or how good of a season you have, let's just say, I guess the benefits of, the team selection each year is it keeps you on your game because, America being so good in karate now, especially over the last, I feel, decade. And I'm just actually starting to get back into, the news outlet as far as USA Karate and like who's on top. And I know your name has always surfaced up, within those years. But then you have these athletes that might be a little bit under, that are hungry for that spot. So I'm sure you would agree that it keeps you elevated. It just keeps you motivated. Do you find that?
Sure.
Yeah. Do you find that, for you at least, and your skill set, do you get nervous for the team selection? I mean, like I don't want to say that you walk in there thinking, this is going to be a piece of cake, but do you still have those same nerves now, or is it kind of just it's another day at the office, if that makes sense?
It is another day at the office, but I always get nervous, because they remember, your performance from before, and I just want to make sure I go in and perform at my very best. So I think the nerves come from that. It's like more of a pressure for myself to make sure that I go out there and do my thing. The results with any competition will follow. But yeah, of course, I always get nervous. But of course, I am a competitor, so I have to go in with, confidence and know that I'm there to win. So Yeah, I mean, another day at the office, but same nerves, same, I treat every competition like they're all the same. Obviously, the atmosphere is a little bit different. The people are different. And a lot of younger kids are actually, trying to get that spot. So, I just got to make sure that I do my thing.
Yeah. And I remember back in 2010. So just a quick backstory for those that are watching. That was my first time actually, I guess, officially meeting you. So it was 2010. I think it was in South Carolina. And we kind of briefly talked about this on FaceTime. And like around that time, like it was such a special time, not only for karate, but I guess social media was kind of at its infancy, because you had Facebook, Instagram, not TikTok, but I'm losing it. But anyways, so you had these different social medias. And I remember at the time, like I was really adamant about trying to connect with as many of the top USA athletes, because if you were on Facebook and you had like a sick USA jacket on, I was adding you as a friend. So I know at one point we connected, and then at nationals, I was backstage. I don't know if I was helping one of my teammates, or if I was preparing, but I remember seeing you and I was like, oh my goodness, it's Sakura. So like I waved at you, and you might not remember this, but you waved back, and I said, oh, that is so cool, And it just reminded me that, like we're all just human beings, So speaking of kind of going back in time, I wanted to ask you, I know you've been at this karate, journey for, quite some time, but when did you start? And man, there's so much I want to kind of unpack here, but to keep it simple, when did you start? And do you remember like why you started karate? Was it something that you wanted to do, or something that you, like maybe your like parents said, no, things you have to do karate?
No, for sure. I mean, before I get to that, 2010, I just got started, man. So I was pretty much I don't want to say nobody, but yeah, I was just starting. So, every interaction is fun. Anyways, how I started, I was 7, I believe, and I started in Honolulu, Hawaii. I believe it was like a YMCA class, like after school program kind of thing, where you can do anything that you want. I just remember my mom. So I don't remember anything about me saying I want to or not. My mom signed me up for that class, and I do remember putting my gi on for the first time. I do remember, sensei trying to, like, my arms are up here and he's like tying, or she's tying my belt, right? So I remember like little moments like that. But initially when I started, it was, because my mom like signed me up for that class, and I loved sports growing up. I loved doing everything. So I tried like soccer, tennis, like, I know how to sail. That's actually one thing that like purely enjoy as a hobby. And a bunch of other things, but karate is that one thing that stuck as a child. I was very like shy and quiet as a kid, and I loved soccer, team sports and being around other girls and kicking a ball. Like I loved it. But there was something about karate that truly allowed me to really focus on progress. And I think it's the environment of sensei telling you something, you say hi, and then you just like go in the back and just keep working. But that process probably fit my personality, my quiet, introverted personality. And I wasn't the most athletic kid growing up either. Like I wasn't the first one all the time. I was always like, if anything towards, I wouldn't say the end, but maybe in the middle, right? So karate really allowed me to put the hours in and work, and the progression showed like very clearly. And that I think gave little Sakura a little confidence growing up. So it had nothing to do with me wanting to become a world champion or wanting to become this. It just felt right. And after the YMCA, I moved to a dojo. And in that dojo, I was surrounded by amazing female athletes that have been so successful in their career. So, being from that perspective too, I had the luxury of being surrounded by female athletes that looked like me. And that just probably kept me in the sport for a good chunk of time.
Man, that's so awesome. And I love that you shared that. And just a couple of things that you said that really resonated and stood out. So
going back to what you said about 2010 and that kind of being like your start, it's interesting you say that, because before I asked you that question, you were saying how now all these younger athletes are looking up to you and they're chasing your spot. So I wonder if that was the same emotions that you had back in 2010. It's crazy how that comes full circle, and you've made such a great impact for those that directly watch you or kind of indirectly. I feel like nowadays with social media, like anyone can kind of jump on Instagram, and if they know anything about karate or not, they can see your page and like, oh wow, like this is cool. And then you said something about when you started. So I love how you said that, your personality kind of fitted, karate. And that couldn't be, that's so true, because, like all walks of life can do it, and whatever your goals are, whether it's, just the fitness side or the competition, of course, that I know that you've really excelled in. And then you mentioned about having those female athletes, those female counterparts that you looked up to. And I wonder now, like, as we kind of reflect on this and as you're, kind of telling this story, like, do you have like younger females now looking to you? Like what has that role been like for you? Where I know you're still a student, of course, you're still an athlete, but like, how do you deal with that pressure of being you, And I know you're obviously an individual, of course, as in we all are, but you're not just the average person, you're, Olympic freaking, athlete, so, something that I always, am curious about when, celebrity status or, athlete status, how do you deal with that type of pressure? And because you seem very grounded, but I just would love to get your mindset on that, just staying humble and grounded, even if you win, lose and whatnot.
In terms of full circle, it's one of the most, I don't know, like honorable things, like experience that I've had. And, as a kid, like I said, it's a little pat on the back, or it's like, hey, good luck, or the smallest things that kept me going as a child. And I always remember that as even as of right now, like I remember that feeling because that kept me going. So, now I know I'm in a position where I do have bigger influence. I try to make sure that the kids are seen, and I do my best to make sure that everybody, is encouraged. Whether, they're in competition or not, I believe that karate is that one sport that truly helps you in life. So the full circle moment is fun. Sometimes it's a little bit weird because I still see myself as that young athlete, and my friends or people sometimes have to like slap my face and remind me. But I don't know. It's there's no pressure really. Like I feel like pressure is a weird word. Like I'm just trying to be myself, and whoever finds, whoever just wants to hang out with me, hang out with me. In terms of being grounded, I grew up, in an environment and in a household where, you practice respect and, just the mindset of being respectful. I do think it does come with culture, but to stay humble and to have the mindset of continuously learning. Even as an instructor, I'm learning. As an athlete, I'm learning. As a human being, I'm still learning. I think, I'm still young in a sense. So I think just that mentality keeps me grounded. And the people around me keeps me grounded too. So I have, a very strict mother that always keeps me humble. And the senseis or the people that I respect around me are the most amazing, humble person that I know. So I just strive to be like those people. And yeah, it's, in a way it's rewarding and it's fun because I never thought as a child I will be in this position to even try and make a change or, do something different because, there's not many, especially in this martial arts world, there's not much female representation. As much as people say that, it's changing, even when you look at like Premier Leagues right now. The most recent one that's happened last weekend.
Yeah.
You know, they're all guys. You know, the only girls that you saw was either myself, one of my Kumite teammates, like Trin, you know, Skylar is like also ones that is probably qualified to compete on these tournaments, but there's more guys than girls that are out there. So, you know, where I am right now, I'm just trying to think, you know, how can I change that? How can I make sure that, you know, these girls continue to do their sport? Because again, I was in a place where I did have strong influence by female athletes, but I'm learning that in many places that doesn't exist. So I take that as, you know, my mission, and I just try to be myself, and that's it.
No, I love it. And there's a couple things you said, and I love how you made the connection with not only your karate training, but your family as well. And you saying that you had a really strict, caring, loving mother. And so from what I'm hearing, you didn't really struggle with, you know, the discipline part of karate because you already had that in your own personal life. And then you talk about, you know, having positive mentors and just knowing you now and kind of watching you progress over the years. It's no wonder you've had the continued success that you are still having because of that humble mindset, you know. And, you know, like, it's easy for athletes to say they're humble or they do, you know, X, Y, Z, but you live it. And you said so yourself about surrounding yourself with family and friends. And I love how you said sometimes your friends have to kind of slap you to remind you, like, no, like you earned this, you know, like you deserve this. And I think, you know, it's tough sometimes because it's always after the fact, right? Because we always reflect, like, oh yeah, like I could have done this more things. I could have, you know, I could have celebrated more. But karate just has a way of just keeping us honest with ourselves, you know. And then you said so you're you know, yourself, you can't really fake it, you know. And that's one of the reasons why I love kata, because you either know, like, it's like you either have a good kata or you don't. And I'm just going to put that out there, you know. And
kind of, yeah. I mean, with competition, it's changing a lot. You know, even as a competitor, I would say it too. Like, it looks nothing like what it was before.
Really? Interesting.
You know, and, you know, that is part of sports. Like, sports keeps evolving and it keeps changing. And, you know, if it's not changing, then we're not making progress, or not, right? Like, it could go both ways. But, you know, the sports keeps changing, and I still, you know, it's interesting to see how it has changed over the years. Big difference. Huge.
So when you say change, what kind of comes to mind? You know, from your perspective, how have you seen USA Karate, or just karate in general, change over, let's say, the last 10 years?
Well, just karate in general, and we're talking about more competition focused.
Sure.
You know, it changed. Probably the peak was during the Olympics. Over that 4 or 5 years leading,
which was a process to get us in.
Yeah, leading up to Tokyo. I could be biased because I was in it, but that was like a progress of athletes, and not just athletes, but coaches, and how competition, we were basically tested to our limits, because as athletes, we were traveling probably every 2 weeks in a different country competing. And we had to be on top of our game to make sure that we solidify points to qualify, because the qualifying numbers were very narrow compared to any other sport. And everybody was playing a one-time card. So I feel like nobody knew what they were doing, but in the midst of chaos, we all had to kind of figure out our own ways to compete. I felt like a lot of other countries kind of had a system together, where for us, it was more of, okay, like, you guys on our own, do your thing, and let's see who survives. But again, in terms of the Olympics season, I've seen like the biggest progression and change, not just the level of athletes and the skill set, but just everything in general. As a community, I feel like, you know, we were doing this. And after, I don't know, I guess we'll have to see. A lot of rules are changing. But again, the younger athletes are freaking like amazing right now with their athleticism. But again, because the rules are changing, the athletes are changing, how you train is change. So a lot of things are changing. So it'll be interesting to see, you know, what kind of athletes will come out of this change as the sports like progresses in its own way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's like every 10 years or so, because like if you go back into the 90s and early 2000s and then, you know, the 2010 times, karate has changed as far as how the athlete has developed as well. And I remember I remember something specifically that when I was on the AAU karate team, Coach Jim O'Hara was saying that, you know, like you may only do this one time in your life. And as you were saying, and that kind of resonated when you talked about how you were kind of on this path for the Olympic season and no one really knew what was going on. So you just had to kind of focus on yourself and make yourself the best version. And I remember him saying that, you know, as long as you're, you know, doing your absolute best and you're just enjoying the moment, because I wonder, like, was that even a fun process for you? Like, you know, during that Olympic cycle and like, yeah, you know, and like, it's interesting because like you shake your head, but you were an Olympian and you go to Japan and you represent the country. But like, I wonder, like, was that whole process, like in the end, was it worth it to you?
Oh, absolutely. I would go through hell to do it again.
Oh yeah, really? That's interesting.
It's one of the most rewarding. I would go through hell to experience that one more time if I have to. And now I know what it will take, so I can be a little bit prepared. Meaning I'll make sure I have my own circle and have my people around me so that, you know, just to make it a little bit easier for myself. But yeah, that process was it's not meant for everybody. You have to, and it's not just about competing, training, competing and getting the results was something that I was already used to. Like I already knew what to do in terms of training to compete, to win, right? That discipline was already there, but you put that context into the Olympic cycle, that's a whole new different ball game. We never had previous Olympians, so I had nobody to talk to, nobody to ask about, right?
Yeah.
Like just the mentality of going in and that whole process, it wasn't really about it was about competition, but it was about like people around it that got more excited, that had nothing to do with the competition, that kind of gets into your psyche. That trying to not figure it out, but compartmentalizing that was challenging.
Yeah.
Because everybody wants to be a part of it. Like everybody wants to, you know, be in the hype. And all I wanted to do was just train, compete, and win. Yeah. So it's the outside noise that I had to control and navigate, along with all the fun stuff of, you know, as it got closer and when I qualified, it was a whole different story. You got all the exciting things around, but leading up to it, you get tested in so many different ways, not just in your sport, but everything else outside of it. So that was challenging to navigate, but in that time I was so in it and I wanted it so bad that it wasn't even like, I didn't even second question it. It's like, it was something that I wanted. It was something I needed to do. And I was basically on autopilot mode, just making sure I did everything right. But again, now looking back, I was like, damn, like, I don't even know how I did it all because it was a lot. But when you're in it and when you want it, you know, nothing gets in the way.
Yeah, it's like when you have a big enough why, like you'll find like a way to make it happen, like as in your case. So when you found out you made the team, talk to us about that, because I bet that was probably one, you know, had to be, if not one of the most exciting news for your karate journey at the time.
I wish I could tell you a good story with that, but it really isn't.
No, it's okay. No. I mean, like, you know, like where were you at? Like, was it a phone call? Was it an email?
No, it's nothing exciting like that at all, dude. Because again, you have to think we were all competing. There were different phases to qualify, and I was trying to qualify through points. So basically that's the first phase.
Sure.
And in order to qualify through points, you have to compete in all the competitions that was listed to get the points to basically make that little like top bracket. And, everybody's been following the points. Whoever was in it knows, okay, this person is already ahead of the game. This athlete, if he or she wins one round here, that will get enough points to separate. Like, everybody knew what was happening.
Yeah.
And by the time I was competing in the last competition, which was in Austria, I believe, 2020, it's like one of those things where if you compete in this and win certain rounds, that will give you certain points to get you ahead of the game. Like, it's all like number games at that point.
Yeah.
So you're in a place where you're controlling that excitement, but you need to make sure you get that. So you're not even thinking about it.
Yeah.
Because
absolutely. Yeah.
You got to go and win. So
as long as you're winning and you got your points, then everything else kind of takes care of itself, basically.
Yeah,
so you kind of knew that you made it on the team.
Yeah, but also you have to realize that you were in like a 3-year span of continuous competing and traveling on your own. So you don't even have that headspace to even think about. There's no room to even be like, oh my God, like I made it, because you're on survival mode the entire time.
Interesting.
Right? And what was that? All the Zoom things.
No, you're good.
And so what I remember was I competed at this one tournament in Austria. I think I went to the finals. I got silver, I believe.
Nice.
And I was sitting in the stands, and again, you're on literally like survival mode in that moment. So I'm just sitting in the stands and I'm just like watching all the competitions. And I remember, it's kind of funny. I remember this, one of the Italian coach was like sitting next to me, and she's like, she like taps me and she's like, you made it, and I look at her and I'm like, I know I did, but I'm just going to wait. Right. Because until it's official.
Sure. Absolutely. Yeah.
Right. And I'm like, and again, it's like, I think so. We're good. She pulls out her phone. She pulls out her notebook and pen. Right. And she looks at the ranking with the points that has everything. She writes it down because there was one more competition left in that whole cycle.
Yeah.
And we know what happened in 2020 March. So there was one competition that was left. And I was going to go and compete. So my brain was set until I go there and compete and everything is done and it's officially announced. I'm not even going to like celebrate.
Sure.
Right? As much as I already knew, I didn't even let that entertain my thought because I've been in it for like so long. But again, and then you have to put this into context where all of us, like I was traveling by myself too. We didn't even really have a team that was traveling.
Interesting.
So anyways, there was, but not really.
Yeah, I got you.
And, the Italian coach sits next to me. She pulls out her phone, like writes the number, bump, bump, bump. See, you're good. Even if this happens in this competition, you're fine, right? I look at her and I'm like, yeah, I know, but, right?
Let's wait.
She does the math in front of me 3 times, right? And again, you have to, I know who she is. I compete against her athlete. Like we all, we never had like this like sit down like at all. But you have a coach from a different country basically saying, you're good, right? And I think after the 3rd time she did it, I'm like am I? Right? And again, after that, I was like, I think I celebrated with my friends in my own way. Just very like, oh, let's get a nice dinner kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it wasn't officially announced. Not even told by anybody that in my circle saying, you're good. There was no confirmation whatsoever. The only thing I was relying on was my knowledge and where I was in the point system. And the Italian coach that took her time to sit next to me and said, hey, you're good. That was the only two things that I had, right?
Yeah.
And then COVID starts spiraling while in Austria. So because I needed to go to Morocco to compete in that tournament that was still technically happening.
Yeah.
So I was stuck in Austria for probably like a week or so to get to Morocco. But obviously during that 1 week, the competition got canceled. Everybody needed to fly back to the US because the country is like, whoever is outside needs to come back kind of thing. So I flew back and basically the world stopped. So in that moment, number wise, I was already in, but the news is literally saying Tokyo Olympics might get canceled. So
yeah.
Like, oh, right. And the World Federation or none of it was, I mean, nobody would know. How would they know? But there was no official statement whatsoever of who truly qualified in the first phase and who didn't. So I was basically stuck in a limbo for a good chunk of time for a good reason because nobody knew what was happening.
Sure.
But I was stuck in a limbo for a good chunk of time to, be acknowledged or approved by, basically people to comfort me and say, hey, like, you're fine, you're good. So that call that people think, or that one event didn't probably happen until like a month or two later.
Sure.
But even then, that didn't even feel that special because we were...
Because you already kind of knew, I feel that.
No, because it was in COVID.
Yeah. True.
No, it wasn't because I knew, because it was COVID. And I didn't know that it was going to happen. So how can I celebrate when the entire world had stopped?
Yeah, that's a good point.
So it wasn't really like, ooh, like I made a celebration. It was, it was like, okay, like I know I made it. Now let's see if this Olympics is going to happen. So yeah, like I wish there was a story where I was like, damn, like I made it. But yeah, it wasn't like that at all.
Well, I think in hindsight, considering that you made the team, that you got to the Olympics and competed there is kind of a cool story to that, because you say that there's not a cool story, like no announcement or email or anything like that, but in a sense I think there is, because you just said that you were sitting next to an Italian coach and she kind of already knows you made it. I can't think of any sport, because I follow USA Wrestling, and I mean, obviously wrestling is different than karate, so I feel like there's more of a unification in wrestling. So like the athletes know when they make it, but no USA wrestler is getting news from like a foreign coach saying, "Hey, like you made the team." There's a like strong possibility. I never would have known that,
I mean, that's why that process was special in its own way, because people who were truly in it knew what it was happening, and and when I say people, I mean everybody from every country, right? The ones who were truly in it, who were aware what was happening, like knew about everybody else too, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So in that sense, that's why I said I feel like the sports like peaked in its own way, because you saw athletes, because we were seeing each other every 2 weeks in a different country. Like I saw all these athletes more than I saw my friends back home, right? So I feel like we all experienced something a little crazy, and we mutually have this understanding of, damn, like that was hell. But, hey, we made it. So internally, very quietly, without even saying it, I think, or at least I would like to think that we all had like certain respect for each other, even if we're not talking.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah. It's a mutual respect. Yeah.
Yes, it was so crazy. So, it was different, but, it shows that people, no matter if you're going against them or not, like they care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a basic human need, something I've learned, because I've had guests on from, different countries. I had a guest from Saudi Arabia, and I think he said it best, like as humans, we all want the same things, our needs, love, and just to feel, that sense of acceptance, and karate gives you that. So even though you were kind of in this process of wanting to make the team, but you and your counterparts were all experiencing the same emotions, whether I guess realized that or maybe conceptualized it at the time. So that's interesting that you can share that. So you talk to us about what it was like at the Olympic Games, because I think it's only like less than 1% can even fathom what that emotion is like. So I would love to hear that from your perspective, and just, so talk about us what that was like, how you did competing, and what did you learn like overall from that experience? Like, what was your takeaway?
Ooh.
I know that was a lot. I'm sorry, but that was one of the most exciting questions I wanted to ask you.
The experience of being in the village or going to the Olympics, again, while I was there, I was just trying to balance focusing on going to compete and win.
Yeah.
And the excitement, it's so hard to balance because I want to be really excited, right? Yeah. But I can't because I'm not
focus.
For me, it wasn't just, I made it on the team. Like that was it. I'm good. No, like I wanted to win. So I try to make sure that, I allowed myself to enjoy being there. I did my best. I did my very best to like be there and enjoy. Tried to take photos and everything, right? But to be around, to be on a campus with basically Olympians, my brain couldn't grasp that concept because again, it's new, we never had this experience before, let alone had the time to even dream about it. That wasn't in my bingo card of life, when I started karate. Yeah. It wasn't. So, and I'm being honest, I never, as a kid, I watched the Olympics all the time. I admired and I truly, it's more of, oh man, if I chose another sport, that would have been cool. But I never thought that I would make it or I would be there. So again, in that moment, I'm trying to balance that excitement, but trying to stay focused at the same time. But it's so cool to be in a place where, you're surrounded by athletes from different countries, all Olympians. Yeah. You see, and you kind of do this guessing game, ooh, what kind of sport are you? Because, you guys are team sports or individual sport. And because it was during COVID, there was another factor where we all had to be super careful because we get tested every day. And you see it constantly on the news saying, oh, this athlete tested positive and can't compete, right? That was flying from left to right. So as much as I think we all wanted to celebrate, that was the first time we were probably exposed to that many people after being isolated for that entire year. Yeah. Right. To be in a more not a small space, but I know things started opening up, but that was the first time we're kind of in a structured space and we all had to be mindful. So we're all masked up all the time. So we really can't see each other's faces. So it's we just, you look at the ID card that's hanging from your neck. So you look at that, you look at what they're wearing so you can kind of figure out which country. Yeah. And then you're like, okay, are you this athlete? Are you not? So it's a whole guessing game. Yeah. Even within karate athletes, sometimes I'll bump into them. We're like, you are, because we're all masked up. So yeah, it was, now looking back, it was, a little stressful because once I got food and once I got my little shopping done, you go straight back into your room. Yeah. Because of course you want to rest and you want to get ready, but you don't want to catch COVID, because you get tested all the time. And I think normally you're allowed to be there earlier too and stay there longer, and you can walk around and you can mingle with people more, you can try different things, but that was all limited because of COVID. Sure. So I didn't get the normal Olympic experience, but I can't complain because I still got it. Yeah, absolutely. But it was cool. It's such a cool moment to be in a space where, yeah, like everybody made it. Everybody is there. We were all, I feel like everybody was internally celebrating that
Sure,
the
absolutely.
Olympics had happened because they were thinking about canceling it, whether that was true or not. That was still like headline news, right? Are they going to put it together?
Mhm.
So thank goodness it was in Japan, because if it wasn't for Japan, I don't think they would have like organized it so well.
Yeah, yeah.
But it was such a cool experience.
And so while there, talk about your karate experience there, like the competing on that stage, and
Yeah.
something that you said before you do. You said that when you were traveling all the time for those last couple of years leading up to the birth of the Olympics and Tokyo, and you were seeing the same athletes. I wonder, Sakura, like, did you feel like you were kind of always competing? It's almost like a little mini Olympic, like tournament every week or every 2 weeks before the Tokyo event even happened, because were some of the same athletes that made it on or qualified for the Olympics. I'm sure you had already seen those same athletes week
Oh,
after week prior.
oh
So it
yeah,
was
oh
probably
yeah,
just another like, oh, okay, this is so and so. You know what
oh
I
yeah.
mean?
No, no, we all knew each other. Like we all, even this was before the whole Olympic thing started. Like we were all like in it
Yeah.
to that was what it was. It needed to be that perfect timing too.
Yeah.
I was in a place where I was kind of going up in my career at that age, and yeah, we all knew each other. And when it comes to the Olympics, I don't know. I wasn't thinking about that at all. It's still the Olympics and it's the same group of people,
Yeah.
but that doesn't mean that it's the same, right? You're still going against, and that's the same with most likely all sports. Like you're basically taking the top athletes from that sport.
Mhm.
So that top athlete for sure will know each other because
Yeah.
we've in the circuit for probably since we started karate, right? So the people that was in it didn't really change much, like that feeling of, okay, I know you, so I feel good being here. No, that wasn't even, I think, part of my thought process because that was the norm. That's the norm, right?
Yeah. It makes sense.
And the Olympics, again, different experience because there was no spectators. There was literally nobody sitting in the stands. It was almost an empty venue, and all you see was athletes, coaches, staff, volunteers, and a bunch of camera people. So that experience was crappy because
Mhm.
I wanted to walk in with a venue packed with people,
Yeah.
right? That's what I envisioned. That was what made the Olympics, right? And it was in Japan. So I had so many people back home that was super excited to be there. And, even my family couldn't be there, So that was, very different. But competing in it, you're not even thinking about that. You're just you're just thinking about make sure you perform and win. So again, in that moment, I didn't really care and nothing mattered. It was after that it was done. Maybe like 2 years after that, I really started to take things in and be
Yeah.
like, damn, like that was different.
Self reflection. Yeah.
But in that moment, it was not another tournament. It was Olympics. But I did my best to make sure that I was prepped and ready to go. One thing I would say is that even in the arena where there was nobody, I felt so at home because I recognize the volunteers. I understand the language. So the language being spoken from left to right in the arena, the announcements, the volunteers talking to each other, I understand everything. So that made me feel very comfortable, even in that sitting. And maybe that's why I experienced it differently. I'm pretty sure other athletes might say have their own different story,
Sure.
but I felt at home. Like I recognize a lot of the volunteers,
Mhm.
because a lot of the university students are volunteering, or a lot of the university staffs are volunteering. So, you know, I didn't mention it, but I did 6 years of school in Japan. So these people that I basically grew up with were right next to me. And that gave me a level of comfort.
Sure.
And I competed in that arena multiple times as a university student. So I know all the ins and outs. I know a little hallway that gets me to a little space where nobody can find me, Like, I know my way around. So, that definitely helped with my performance and experience.
Yeah. So it's like in the triumph of the chaos, or the organized chaos, if you will, like you kind of knew where to go.
Oh yeah, I definitely knew where to go.
That's so cool. Yeah. So, there's a lot that you said that most people, even if they do cut out there or not, wouldn't have even, conceptualized, just because we weren't there. And like you spoke of COVID, and wow, that was 6 years ago. I don't think people have forgotten, but it's like anything in life, like as time goes on, people, they kind of put it by the wayside. So you were able to kind of really explain what that process was like. And I loved how you were vulnerable in saying that, there were a lot of things that you didn't know as far as like if you were going to make the team, but then when you got there, kind of having to kind of limit your own experience, at the Olympic Village, or even just meeting other people. I wish there was another way, or if we could take away COVID, that you could have gotten that actual Olympic experience like so many of your counterparts and so many Olympians in the past have gotten as well. So I wonder, even though you might not have gotten the results that you wanted at the Olympic Games, what did that teach you that winning could? So even though you might have lost, let's just say, because we always learn more from our losses than we do from our victories, and that's such a cliche thing, but it's so true. But aside from the experience, aside from knowing the venue and the people and all the helpers that you said, which I think is amazing, ultimately, when you got home, or even now, 6 years later, like what's the best takeaway from the Tokyo Games?
It sounds so cliche, but when I look back, well, there's two things. The cheesy part is the whole Olympics journey made me realize it really is about the process of it. It's all about the experience. And I can only count, still, I've competed in many competitions, but I can probably count in one hand the competitions that I felt like I was truly in the zone, and that I just performed, just truly performed, and it felt really good. And I'm so grateful that my Olympic performance is one of them. I wouldn't change anything about that day. I slept good. I woke up. I got ready. I ate. I warmed up properly. My body was feeling great. There was no big mistakes that I can think of in that moment that, made me question, ooh, like, what if I did this way? What if, there was no what ifs in that moment. So that's one thing I'm so grateful for, because if I had not performed like that, that regret burns you more than a loss.
Yeah.
But I don't have that from that experience. I don't have any ounce of regret leading that 4 years, 5 years leading up to it, on the day of, there's no regrets. So that's one thing that I'm truly grateful for. And I think that helped me process the results. Because again, I really wanted it so bad, and it's so subjective that you just, it's one of those things that could have gone both ways, and you really wanted it, but you don't have the control, right?
How did you do, by the way, there? I
got to my bronze match, but I lost my bronze.
I mean, just to say that you were in the bronze match, that's still incredible. Yeah, I can say that.
My competitor side is nah.
Yeah.
I wanted that hardware.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But yeah, that experience, I think, really has taught me how important it is to just be myself, trust my gut, trust the people around you. I've seen both sides of people, the good and the bad, through those entire years of process.
Sure.
That made me, stronger as a person. And you have all the fun stuff of being exposed to the media more, and being comfortable being to talk in front of camera, to all the sponsorships too. I had such an amazing relationship with all the brands that I worked with, and that experience itself was special for me because I never thought that I would have that experience as a karate athlete.
Yeah.
Sitting next to athletes that I truly admired growing up, I was right next to them and having a normal conversation. Those little things, I never imagined having as a kid, and to experience that, I'm so truly grateful. And now that I look back, I think that only happened because I was myself, like I was just being myself. And I try to like tell myself that too, even till now, because I think we live in a world where we have to not show like our fake selves, but we try sometimes the world makes it in a place where we have to pretend a lot. And, I try to remind myself that that experience I got was only because I was just trying to be myself. So, I think that was the biggest lesson. And yeah, in terms of performance wise, I'm probably in better shape now than I was then. So,
Sure.
I kept training. I keep working on my skills because it was probably like, it took a while for me to even look through that video and photos and process the whole thing. Because after the Olympics, I believe after a month or two, like I was already competing back at a Premier League, competing at Worlds. Like there was no stop whatsoever.
Yeah.
And now looking back, I would have maybe been a little kinder to myself and allowed myself to rest. But like, yeah, I was probably too upset to stop in that moment.
Yeah.
So I kept going. Yeah.
That's understandable because you were so close, as you were saying, and you said how much you wanted that hardware. So I'm sure that motivated you more to, get after it. Something that you said, kata being so subjective, and I'm glad that you mentioned that because I love kata myself and something that I do, not all the time, but when I'm competing in it, I've said this to many people over the years. So, and I'm going to ask you on it, kind of get your mindset, but, kata is a sense where, have you ever gone out and I know you have, but you've competed in the tournament and you said, and you did a kata, and you knew that, okay, this is the kata, like this was the best one here. But then you get judges for whatever reason, maybe they saw something different. I think that's what stings the most is when you go out there and you know that you performed so well just to come up short, but you're thinking, I don't know, because I used to have this thought process and maybe it's messed up, but if I would I would do a kata and whether I did first, second, or third, whatever or not, if I didn't get the results that I wanted, I would say to myself, okay, judges, I want to see you guys come out here and do the same kata I did. Have you ever had that mindset? Or, I mean, maybe that's kind of like messed up, but I don't know.
No, not in that sense. I don't think so.
No?
I mean, not in that way.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Because you're so great at what you do. So I'm wondering, these people judging you, you ever feel like you really don't deserve to be judging me because you're not good at kata like I am. And it's not an arrogant mindset. It's more like you put in the work and you know that you're great at this. It's like, I would want you grading my kata because you know what a good kata looks like. And it's no diss to anyone else, but again, you think we can't control those things.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I never got it out that way, probably. But of course, there were moments where there were too many moments where, performing, you do your kata and you don't get the result that you thought you would. And, dealing with that emotion is very hard because you put so much work into it. But this in particular, over time, like as a kid, I think I created a habit, and this is all thanks to my senseis, like all the people around me. But no matter if you win or no matter if you lose, no matter how many times I won, it definitely did not please my mother. So, even if I win, I'm not getting like this, like, hey, pat on the back, like, great job. Even if you win, it's like, yeah, that wasn't good. And I was just like, okay. So that's basically how I was raised. So I
Yeah.
do have a little bit of a what is it? What's the word that I'm looking for?
Imposter syndrome, maybe like
No. I'm trying to think.
not imposter syndrome, but
What is that word that I'm looking for? I'll think. Oh, it'll come to me. Bilingual problems. I'm thinking in like two
no, you're
different.
good. You're good. You're good.
But yeah, so that was growing up, and no matter if I win or lose, you go back and your sensei's like, all right, next one, right? Even if I lose, like sensei didn't even give me time to even be mad about it, or I can be upset, but I know the moment I start saying something, well, first, I can't even say anything at my sensei because, yeah, you can't.
Yeah.
Right? So you just
Yeah,
learn
yeah.
to keep it in. No
Yeah.
matter what you want to say, like, I just keep it in. I don't know if that's probably was for the better for me as a kid. But there was no time for me to even bring out excuses. My sensei always guided me in a place where it's like, okay, you lost. If a win's a win and lose is lose. You lost for some reason. So what is it? And you're gonna go back there, train and get better. So that has been the mindset as a kid growing up. So when I became a teenager and started competing, and even in my like 20s, of course I'm upset. I'm a terrible loser. Ask any of my teammates who knew me as a kid. I'm a terrible loser. Like I'm bad. Like when I lose, yeah, don't
Yeah.
get close to me. Um, but I don't know. Maybe I was trained to put that emotion in a place where I was like, okay, like I lost. Now I'm a train and now I'm going to come back even better. It basically fueled me every single time. And, I learned as a young kid that you don't blame it on anybody else but myself. So
Sure.
I think that helped me as an athlete. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for thank you for explaining that a little bit more in depth. And I apologize for my, maybe the way that I would not handle
No, but
just
it's
my
like
thought
it's
process.
a subjective sport, and again, but it's how you take in that loss that changes everything. So I'm just grateful that I had senseis and people around me that kept me grounded. Whether I win or I lose, there was always a way to navigate back to training and just be better. And everything else is uncontrollable. That's the thing. We
So
live in
true.
a world where you can't control many things, and I
Most things.
learned
Yeah.
I
So
learned,
true.
the more I focus on the things that I control, then the results will show different.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
So just to kind of jump ship now, because we talked a lot about your karate experiences and leading up to the Olympics and where you are now.
Mhm.
When we initially talked over FaceTime to set this whole Zoom meeting up, you mentioned about surfing. And I would love to kind of have you kind of talk about that, because surfing is something that I also enjoy doing too. And it might be something that the viewers might not know about you. And you said sailing earlier and surfing. So like, how does that find balance in your life? And like, what joys do you find in those activities? And do they kind of help with karate in a sense?
For sure. Sailing, I probably started being on a boat ever since I could probably crawl or walk, because I come from a family of like sailors. My mom's a sailor. My grandpa used to be on a boat. Like I think he was a chef. I never got to know him, but we all come from a family of, sailors, and I loved it as a kid. I was doing basically sailing and karate at the same time in Hawaii. So like I'll sail like especially during summertime, like I'll sail like during the day. I'll be out of the water by 4 to sprint to the dojo by 5:30 and train till 9.
That's
So that was
awesome.
like my thing growing up. And apparently I was pretty good at it, but I was being stubborn and I didn't want to do what my mom was doing. So I was like, nah, like I'm not gonna be competitive in sailing. I want to, do karate.
Yeah.
but that's something I truly love. It is one thing that you actually need a boat. So that's the hard part. So if anybody's listening, whoever is in LA wants to take me out, let me know. But I love it. There's something special about being in the water, controlling the sail, the wind. You're out there just, with nature. And when you go fast, you go super fast. So I truly enjoy it. Surfing, I only started probably like 2 years ago because one of my friends like asked me to come out here in California, actually. And, my brain was like, why am I wearing a wetsuit? Like, this doesn't make sense to me. I'm spoiled, because I know Hawaii water.
Yeah.
But I truly, at first it was a little scary because I'm not used to being in the water like that. When you're on a boat, you're kind of dry. But I learned that, damn, like surfing, you're just paddling most of the time and you're trying not to drown. That's so cool. Now that I've been out enough, I started getting comfortable being in the water. And I truly enjoy it. Everywhere I go, I try to find a place where I can rent a surfboard now and try go out. No matter what the wave condition, as long as it's not huge, I try to go out. So I even extended like one stay while I was in Morocco and just like rented a surfboard and went out. I did the same thing when I was in France. So now it's like, okay, like I'm out in this different country through karate. Like, can I surf here? Has been like my thought process, which is fun because it brings a different taste to my trip. And, I'm not good at it at all. Like I'm still a beginner and I really want to do it enough where I get real good and real comfortable. But, it helps because it allows me to move my body in a different way and it clears my mind. And I love the ocean. So it's just like the things that I love, I'm able to do for fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's so awesome that you've found love in others in other interests aside from karate. Because I think a lot of times, athletes, we only see them kind of as one version. So meaning like, oh, this is Sakura, right? She's only the karate athlete. Well, it's not true at all. There's so many different hats or so many different things that you enjoy. And I'm glad I'm glad that you shared that with us. I think that's awesome.
And I think as a kid, like I grew up making sure that I was well-rounded too. That's why it was important for me to, I did my undergrad, I have my master's degree just to make sure that my academics are good. And it could be like a typical Japanese Asian household, but I did instruments. And instruments I feel like is something that really helped with my kata performance. But growing up, like I love art. Like I want to dab into taking more photos. Like I had so many interests growing up as a child. And I think that's what made me different.
Sure.
I could have made a decision to go to a high school and go to college, just purely focusing on karate. But that was not my thing. Like being in Japan too, like that was an option to choose a school that just did karate.
Interesting.
But, I didn't want to because I wanted to do other things, and I think that's one thing people tend to not mistake, but I think people tend to think that I did just karate growing up and that was all I did. But yeah, that was a big part of it, but I did so many things growing up. I made sure I was in school. Like I did other sports. And I tell a lot of kids right now too, there were times when I was in high school that I even couldn't train. Like I had tests to do, like even in college. Like there were probably like 10 days where I couldn't even step like foot into the dojo.
Yeah.
But I still did something outside of it. I still made sure I trained in my room or something, right?
Absolutely.
But like I tried to do it all. And it wasn't only until the Olympic season started that I became like the full-time athlete. Before that, I did everything else.
Nice.
So even the kids that are listening, I don't know if they are, hope they are. But when they say, oh, like I don't have time because I have school and that, and I'm like, then do school. That
Yeah.
doesn't mean you got to stop karate. Like that doesn't mean you got to stop your sport.
Yeah.
Like you see us as athletes right now, especially on social media, posting about training, and everything. That's only very like limited athletes, and they're only seeing us posting training and competing, right? Some countries do have the luxury where they get paid to do what they do, but a lot of the athletes don't. And, I only have this lifestyle. This is very recent. Like before that, I was basically doing everything, right? So, do everything. Like I did everything and it helped me become an athlete that I am right now. So, yeah.
I love it. Yeah. That's awesome. I do have one final question for you, and this
Okay.
is one that I wanted to save for the end.
Uh-oh.
And it's when your career is eventually over, what do you hope people remember about you that has nothing to do with medals or even karate? And then I know karate will be a part of you, a big part of you,
Mm-hmm.
and even an identity for those that do know you, whether directly or indirectly. But eventually, what do you want people to remember you by?
Oh. Just somebody who kept trying. Like I said, like I wasn't the most athletic kid growing up, but having a dream and setting a goals and working for it and keep trying got me where I am. So like just as a person, I don't know, just people to see that. And, I always it's going to be related to karate, but now I'm thinking, how can I give back to the community? And that is, I just hope that people remember my kindness and I don't know, just like me being myself, I guess. I don't know. Because that's what I really want to do, is to focus on building and creating things so that the next generation of like kids or people who want to practice karate can like truly experience it for what it is. So creating, keeping that authenticity to the martial art, as it keeps evolving as a sport. I want to, keep the traditional authentic side of it. And how, I don't know, but that's something that I probably need to figure out.
I love it. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. And one last thing that I always let my guest kind of round out this conversation is, if you could give a shout out to anyone or maybe a select few people that come to mind, who would you like to give a shout out to?
Oh my God. I can't name everybody. Oh, that's hard. Mm. Oh, that's a good one. You're making me think here. There's so many. I don't want to like miss out on anybody too. In terms of karate though, I would
Yeah.
say, um, hmm, even till now, it's somebody I truly admire, and she's become like more of an older sister figure of mine. But senpai, like Riko Usami, has been a huge influence in more of like later in my career. Like I only started training with Inoue sensei probably when I was 16. And that changed my whole like career as an athlete and as a person. And that expanded my like ideas of what training could be. Like he made it very like fun and enjoyable.
Sure.
And through that, I met somebody like Rika, and she's still somebody that I reached out to when I need some kind of advice, or, whether that's karate or not. So I truly, I hope that I can continue our friendship outside of competition to, just to get to know her more. But I don't know, everybody that was involved in my life, the ones who saw me in my lows and reached out, those are the people that I'm truly, truly grateful for, because people can pop up when you're having, when you're peaking, but literally friends, my community, like people who reached out when I wasn't who I was, or I don't want to say when I wasn't a nobody, but people who saw me in my lows and just, people being kind. Those people, you all know who you are. I can't name everybody, but
Absolutely.
they know who they are.
Yep.
Those people I am so, so grateful for. And they're the reason why I'm here. They're my pillars. So I'm very, very grateful for them.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Sakura, it was an honor to have you on today's podcast. Thank you so much for the amazing insight that you gave on not only your karate experiences and your time, training and prepping for the Olympics and then making it to the Tokyo Games, but also just your mindset of how you function as an athlete and as a human being. There's a lot that I learned from today's show, and thank you for also sharing about your passion for sailing and surfing. It's definitely something that I didn't know, and I'm sure the viewers might feel the same way. And just, I think overall, like the overarching theme of this is you've reached the pinnacle of this sport, if you will, and that's just my own opinion on it, and you're still going. And because you said at the beginning of this podcast that you're prepping and training for the next team trials, so it's never ending. And I love that you had this goal and you're still, chasing after it. And I think that's to be commended, because not many people get to do what you do. And I think it's important for me as the host to say, like, what you're doing is awesome. And you really are changing lives, whether you know it or not. I mean, I was on your Instagram the other day. I said, wow, not only does she have a following, but you're posting great content. And there's a lot of comments and a lot of collaboration and feedback. And in today's world where it's so messed up, you definitely bring a lot of positive to it. So
thank you.
I thank you for that. Of course.
Appreciate that. I try. Appreciate it.
Yep. So this is a part of the show where we conclude. And again, I want to thank you for being on today. Like I said, it was an honor to have you on, and I'm super excited to follow your career, not only onward, but whatever else you have in 2026. So
for sure. Appreciate it. Thank you guys. Thank you for allowing me to do this. Thank whoever's listening. Thanks for listening. And, I'm trying to do bigger things outside of competition too. So, keep, to those who aren't following me, follow me. I'll make sure, I do fun stuff in this world, and happy to have you guys, be a part of the journey. So appreciate you guys.
Yep. And speaking of following, where can people officially find your your social media, like your Facebook, Instagram?
I make sure I'm on Instagram all the time. So my Instagram is my first name, last name, Sakura Kokumai Karate. That you should find me there. I try to be a little bit more active, posting on YouTube and stuff, but right now Instagram is probably the best way to go. There you can see all my updates with what I'm doing. So
very cool. All right, guys. Well, there you have it. So if you enjoyed today's show, make sure you guys hit subscribe and follow us on YouTube, and also make sure to follow Sakura, and her journey.
Thank you guys.
All right. Thank you so much.
Bam.